Let me know in the comments which city you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe.
Hey everyone. It's wild how life just turns. One minute you think you have it all figured out, the next, the ground beneath you just crumbles. I'm Isabella, and for years, my whole identity was Dr. Martinez. I lived and breathed medicine, chasing this dream of helping people, of being truly brilliant at something that mattered. I poured everything into becoming a surgeon. The long hours, the relentless pressure, it was all part of the path. And honestly, I loved it. I really did. There was this deep satisfaction that came with knowing you could make a real difference, that you held someone's life in your hands and could bring them back from the brink. Then came the day everything shattered. It was Mateo, this sweet, bright-eyed 8-year-old boy in for what should have been a straightforward appendectomy. We'd done hundreds of them, routine. But sometimes, life just throws you the most devastating curveball, the kind you never see coming, the kind that rips your world apart. He had this undiagnosed congenital heart condition, something no one could have known, not without a crystal ball. And just like that, during what was supposed to be a simple procedure, Mateo was gone. My world, my carefully constructed reality imploded in that operating room. The investigation cleared me, said I did everything right, that it was an unforeseen complication. But try telling that to a mother who just lost her child. Try telling that to a public ravenous for someone to blame. The media latched onto it, turning me into a monster. Incompetent surgeon, they shrieked. Killer, they called me. Every headline felt like a punch to the gut. Every comment online, a stab to the heart. It didn't matter what the official report said. In the court of public opinion, I was guilty, and the weight of that guilt was crushing. It was a suffocating blanket that just kept getting heavier. I couldn't breathe in that city anymore. The hospital, my colleagues, even just walking down the street. Every single thing was a reminder of Mateo, of the headlines, of the whispers. My promising medical career, everything I'd worked for, it just evaporated. The joy was gone, replaced by this gnawing anxiety that never let up. So I ran. I packed a bag, left everything behind, and just drove until the city lights were a distant memory. I needed to disappear, to find a place where no one knew my name, where I could just exist. That's how I ended up in the Arizona mountains, taking on a job as a domestic nurse. This new life was different. I was taking care of David Anderson, a millionaire recovering from heart surgery. His sprawling estate was tucked away in the mountains, isolated, which was exactly what I needed. He was reclusive, and initially he was just cold. He treated me like I was invisible, just a functional part of the household, barely acknowledging my presence beyond giving curt instructions. It was a far cry from the bustling hospital wards, the constant hum of life and death decisions. Here, it was quiet, almost eerily so, and my purpose felt so diminished. But even through his harsh exterior, I started to notice things, little cracks in the facade. He was demanding, yes, but there was a deep sadness in his eyes, a vulnerability he tried desperately to hide. I saw it in the way he moved, slow and careful, in the way his gaze would sometimes linger on nothing in particular, lost in thought. It was familiar, that silent pain, because I was living with my own. We were two broken people sharing a space, each wrestling with our own demons, even if we weren't talking about them. We rarely spoke beyond the necessities, but there was this unspoken understanding that started to bridge the gap between us. It wasn't anything grand, just a shared quietness, a recognition of something profound beneath the surface. He'd observe me, sometimes when he thought I wasn't looking, and I could feel his curiosity. I guess my medical background, even though I tried to the difficulty of keeping it under wraps eventually became apparent. He'd ask subtle questions about my knowledge, about how I knew certain things, and I'd give vague answers, trying not to reveal too much. But he was persistent in his own quiet way. He started to see beyond the nurse label to the person beneath. And then something shifted. I could feel it, this subtle pull, this unexpected connection blooming in the most unlikely of places. It was unsettling in a way, because I hadn't let anyone get close since Mateo. But with David, it was different. He saw something in me that I thought had been permanently scarred, something that felt worthy of connection, even love. It was confusing, terrifying, and strangely, incredibly hopeful, all at once. Just as I started to let my guard down, to allow myself to feel something other than crushing grief and anxiety, Valentina showed up, David's ex-fiancée. She swept into the estate like a storm, all sharp edges and cutting remarks, and it was clear from the start she saw me as a threat. She wasted no time trying to undermine me, making snide comments about my past, trying to dig up dirt. I could feel the old anxieties bubbling up, the fear that my past would always be exposed. It was like living with a ticking bomb, and she was determined to light the fuse. She even tried to humiliate me publicly, making veiled references to my medical background and hinting at some dark secret. My stomach would clench every time she entered a room, dreading what she would say or do next. It felt like the entire world was closing in on me again, like the walls of my carefully constructed refuge were crumbling. But what truly surprised me, what truly touched me, was David's reaction. He didn't hesitate. He defended me, unwavering, shutting her down with a firmness I hadn't seen from him before. It wasn't just a polite dismissal, it was a fierce protectiveness that spoke volumes. His defense wasn't just about protecting me from her malice and her attempts at my humiliation,
Valentina. It was about protecting us. It solidified something between us, making our bond stronger, more real. It was then that I started to truly believe that maybe, just maybe, I deserved a second chance at happiness, that I could actually find healing. He saw through the accusations, through the whispers, and saw me. That unconditional support, that belief in me was something I hadn't experienced in such a long time, and it felt like a balm to my raw, wounded soul. It was a lifeline in a storm I thought I'd never escape. What I didn't know was that David, fueled by his love and this deep desire to see me heal, had started doing his own digging. He wasn't just taking my vague answers at face value anymore. He was quietly, meticulously investigating my past, piecing together the true story of Mateo Miller's death. He wasn't looking for flaws or for reasons to doubt me. He was looking for understanding, for the full, tragic details of what I had endured. He wanted to understand the depth of my pain, the burden I carried, so he could help me finally set it down. His secret investigation culminated in something I never could have anticipated, something that truly shifted the earth beneath my feet. He discovered everything, not just the facts of Matteo's death, but the full extent of the media circus, the public vitriol, the crushing weight of guilt I carried. He found the evidence that truly vindicated me, not just legally, but emotionally. And then he arranged the most terrifying, yet ultimately healing encounter of my life. A meeting with Eleanor Miller, the mother of Matteo. Walking into that room to face her, the woman whose son I had lost, felt like walking into a fire. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst right out of my chest. I braced myself for anger, for accusations, for the raw pain I knew she must still harbor. But what transpired was something far more profound than I could have imagined. We sat there, two women, bound by an unspeakable loss.
Tragedy. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt truly seen, truly heard. The words tumbled out of me, a raw confession of the guilt I'd carried, the sleepless nights, the way Matteo's face haunted my every waking moment. And then Eleanor started to speak, her voice thick with tears, sharing her own journey through grief, the hollow ache in her chest. We both cried, openly, unashamedly, not just for Matteo, but for ourselves, for the unimaginable pain we each had silently endured. There was no blame in her eyes, only understanding and a shared, profound sorrow that somehow, miraculously, began to transform into something else. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated healing. In that shared space of vulnerability and grief, an incredible thing happened. Forgiveness. Not just her forgiving me, but me finally starting to forgive myself. It was like a dam broke inside me, releasing years of pent-up anguish. The weight I had carried for so long, that suffocating blanket of guilt, began to lift, slowly, painfully, but surely. It was a feeling I honestly thought I'd never experience again. The possibility of moving forward, of finding meaning again. And David was there every step of the way. His support wasn't just comforting, it was empowering. He understood my need to honor Matteo's memory, to turn this profound loss into something positive. He didn't just offer emotional support, he offered practical help. The kind that made dreams, even seeming impossible ones, a reality. He believed in me, in my skills, even when I had completely lost faith in myself. His belief was a catalyst, pushing me towards a future I hadn't dared to imagine. Together, with David's unwavering backing and his financial resources, we started something truly special. The Matteo Miller Pediatric Medical Center. It was more than just a clinic. It was a promise, a beacon of hope. We focused on providing free health care to underserved children, the kids who often fell through the cracks, who didn't have access to the care they desperately needed. Every child we helped, every smile we brought to a worried parent's face, was a quiet tribute to Matteo. It allowed me to use my medical skills again, but this time with a profound sense of compassion and purpose that went beyond just technical expertise. The center became my life's work, a place where I could truly honor Matteo's memory and heal my own heart one small patient at a time. It felt like coming full circle, returning to medicine not out of ambition, but out of a deep, unshakable love for humanity, born from the deepest pain. David, always by my side,
saw the transformation in me, the slow return of the light to my eyes. And then one quiet evening, he asked me to marry him. It wasn't a grand gesture, just a simple, heartfelt question, and my yes was the easiest word I'd ever spoken. Our wedding was small, intimate, exactly what we both wanted. Eleanor Miller, the woman I once feared to face, stood by my side as my maid of honor, a living testament to the power of forgiveness and the strange, beautiful turns life takes. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, not in the traditional sense, because the pain of losing Mateo would always be a part of me, but it was an ending filled with hope, with purpose, and with a love I never thought I'd find again. It's a love built on shared understanding, on picking up the pieces together. Looking back, it's still hard to fully grasp how one devastating...
Who would have thought one day could lead to such an unexpected future? It's like the universe just shifted in ways I still can't quite explain. One moment I was losing everything, the next I was finding a new path, a new family, a new reason to believe. It wasn't planned, it wasn't logical, but it happened. And even now, with the center thriving and my life with David so full, there's still this sense of wonder, of almost incredulity at how it all unfolded. It's just a reminder that sometimes the greatest transformations come from the most unexpected places.